Wyoming. Wide valleys, open skies, mountain ranges that stretch beyond the horizon. It's the least populated state in America, and maybe the quietest. The land feels untouched, like time has chosen to move a little slower here. Yet it wasn't always peaceful. About 640,000 years ago, this calm landscape was ground zero for one of the most violent events in Earth's history. Not eruption, but apocalypse. A supervolcano tore through the crust, unleashing more than 1,000 cubic miles of molten rock. Ash rained over half the continent. The skies turned black. Temperatures dropped. Entire species disappeared. The planet itself seemed to shudder. But the story didn't end. The volcano never died. It only went to sleep, ready to wake again any minute. Above the sleeping giant, in Yellowstone National Park, the land is unusual, unstable, extraordinary. Geysers erupt, vents hiss steam into the cold mountain air, rivers run hot. The site constantly experiences small earthquakes, and the land rises about 6 inches each year. Indigenous nations have lived with this strange landscape for millennia, but for outsiders, Yellowstone was almost mythical, too fantastical to be real. It wasn't until late 19th century that the truth became impossible to ignore. Finally, in 1872, President Ulysses Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act. It was the first time a government had declared a place untouchable, not for settlement or industry, but for everyone. The very idea of a national park was born. Yellowstone is home to well over half of the world's geysers, and lava flows from past eruptions cover most of the land area. No single feature defines the park like Old Faithful. The name itself suggests reliability, a natural clock set deep in the earth. And the geyser lives up to it, erupting every 90 minutes on average. Not to the second, but close enough that it became the icon of Yellowstone. Each blast hurls thousands of gallons of boiling water into the sky, reaching heights of 185 feet. The show lasts up to 5 minutes, and it all begins just beneath the surface, where volcanic heat turns underground water into powerful steam. Pressure builds, steam expands. Eventually, the system reaches a breaking point. The eruption is the release valve. The water that explodes skyward from Old Faithful doesn't simply vanish, it flows. All that superheated runoff gathers in a single, unlikely artery, the Firehole River. The name sounds dramatic, and it should. This river isn't ordinary. It's born from a volcanic heart. The Firehole cuts through the heart of Yellowstone's upper basin, collecting water from hundreds of hot springs and geysers. Stretching for about 21 miles before joining the Madison River, it's the park's living bloodstream. The waters run warmer than almost any other river in the region, often hovering around 70 degrees Fahrenheit thanks to the thermal inputs. The surface shimmers even when air temperatures drop below freezing. And with that heat comes chemistry. The minerals and silicates dissolved here shape the landscapes downstream, creating terraces, coating rocks, and staining the banks in hues of orange and rust. And just before the river bends away, it passes the Excelsior crater, once the largest geyser in the world, now a steaming pool. In the late 19th century, early expeditions described blasts of water of up to 300 feet, dwarfing anything else in Yellowstone. The last known major eruption was in the 1890s, a series so powerful that it tore apart the internal plumbing. Since then, Excelsior has fallen silent as a geyser. Today, it discharges staggering amounts of water. An estimated 4,000 gallons per minute pour into the Firehole River below. The scale is hard to grasp. Most geysers in Yellowstone release their energy in bursts, then rest. Excelsior just keeps flowing without stopping. Some scientists think its violent past permanently damaged the underground system that once fueled eruptions. Others argue it could erupt again one day. In Yellowstone, the ground always leaves room for surprises. And indeed, just upstream, the land opens into something even stranger. A vision that feels like it shouldn't exist on Earth. This is Grand Prismatic Spring, the crown jewel of Yellowstone's hot springs. At 370 feet across and about 120 feet deep, it's the largest hot spring in the United States and the third largest in the world. The colours aren't minerals or tricks of the light. They're living organisms, mats of heat-loving bacteria called thermophiles. Each ring matches a different temperature range. Near the scalding centre, where water exceeds 160 degrees Fahrenheit, almost nothing can live, leaving a pure, glassy blue. Further out, as the water cools, microbes flourish. Greens, yellows and reds spread outward, forming a living rainbow. Scientists study these phenomena for clues to the origins of life on Earth and the possibilities of life beyond it. Norris Geyser Basin is Yellowstone's hottest, oldest and most unstable thermal area. Geologically speaking, it's perched right over a major fault system where magma and water meet in unpredictable ways. Temperatures here can exceed 460 degrees Fahrenheit just below the surface. Norris is divided into two main sections, Porcelain Basin and Back Basin. Porcelain is stark, almost lunar. White sinter terraces stretch in every direction, stained with blues and greens from minerals and microscopic life. Back Basin is different. More forested, but no less volatile. Here you'll find geysers that defy expectations. Most famous is Steamboat Geyser, the tallest in the world. When it decides to erupt, which can be years apart or just days, it shoots water more than 300 feet into the air. Its last active cycle began in 2018, with over 100 major eruptions in just a few years. Unlike the explosive force of geysers, Mammoth Hot Springs is defined by motion you can't quite see. A slow, steady sculpting of stone by hot water and time. Superheated groundwater, rich in calcium carbonate, rises from beneath the Earth's crust and flows over the surface, cooling as it reaches the open air. As it cools, it deposits travertine, a form of limestone that builds up into terraces, mounds, and shallow pools. The result is a landscape that looks almost otherworldly. White as bone in some places, tinted orange or green in others, shaped like frozen waterfalls. Mammoth's terrace formations are constantly evolving. Some areas dry up as new springs emerge nearby, creating a patchwork of active and dormant zones. These terraces aren't just shaped by geology, they're also coloured by thermophiles, heat-loving microorganisms that live in the flowing water, painting the rock in shades of rust, yellow and brown. At the heart of the volcanic plateau lies Yellowstone Lake, the largest high-elevation lake in North America. It may look serene, broad and blue, ringed with forests and mountains. But like everything in this park, it's not what it seems. The lake fills part of the massive depression left by the cataclysmic eruption that formed the Yellowstone caldera. Under the surface, hydrothermal vents still bubble, shaping strange formations on the lakebed. Scientists have mapped active domes rising beneath the water, showing that the volcano isn't dormant, just quiet for now. Heat and pressure keep working, reshaping the basin, building the next chapter in Yellowstone's geologic story. On the western edge of the lake lies a place where volcanic heat rises from beneath the waves. The West Thumb Geyser Basin. It's smaller than some of Yellowstone's other geothermal areas, but no less dramatic. Hot springs steam against the cold alpine air, and geysers bubble just a few steps from the lake. Some vents even lie underwater, creating ghostly plumes rising through the blue shallows. The West Thumb is, in fact, a crater within a crater. About 150,000 years ago, a violent hydrothermal explosion tore open this bay. What you see today, the arc-shaped inlet and its shoreline of thermal features, is the remnant of that event. Like other geyser basins, West Thumb shifts constantly. Some vents go dormant, others surge back to life. The park's backbone is the Yellowstone River. It flows for more than 670 miles, making it the longest undammed river in the lower 48 states. Born from the Absaroka Range, it cuts through valleys, meadows, and lakes before turning violent. The river carves into soft volcanic rock, and here the land gives way to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. "20 miles long, up to 1,200 feet deep, and half a mile wide. The walls are painted in rust reds, sulphur yellows, and streaks of orange. These colours aren't accidents. They're the result of hydrothermal alteration. Volcanic rock baked and transformed by heat and gases. At the canyon's head, the upper falls drops 109 feet in a powerful curtain of white water. But it's the lower falls, at 308 feet tall, that steals the show. It's nearly twice the height of Niagara, and the roar of crashing water echoes through the gorge. The water's force has helped carve the canyon over centuries, aided by glacial melt and erosion. The Lamar Valley in the northeast corner of Yellowstone is one of the best places in North America to see large wildlife. The open meadows and cottonwood-lined waterways create prime grazing grounds. The most famous residents are bison. Yellowstone holds the only continuously wild bison herd with numbers ranging more than 5,000 animals. The Lamar is one of their core ranges. In summer, herds spread across the valley floor, grazing in loose groups. When temperatures drop, the bison move less but work harder, sweeping snow with their massive heads to reach grass below. Other animals share the valley. Pronghorn antelope roam here. The fastest land animals in the Western Hemisphere. Elk gather in large herds. And since 1995, when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone, the Lamar has become one of the best places in the world to see them in the wild. Unlike the geysers or the canyon, this part of the park isn't about geologic wonders, it's about life. Herds, hunts, migrations, playing out much as they did centuries ago. South of Yellowstone, the Grand Teton Range rises like a wall from the floor of Jackson Hole. Jagged granite peaks slice into the Wyoming sky with no gentle foothills to soften their ascent. It is one of the youngest mountain ranges in North America, thrust upward only 9 million years ago. Mere moments in geological time. The name Teton comes from French-Canadian trappers of the early 1800s, who, struck by the mountain's shape, gave it this irreverent name. At the centre is Grand Teton, almost 14,000 feet high, the tallest peak in the range. Its sharp profile dominates the skyline. Grand Teton National Park was established in 1929, but it protected only the peaks. The valley wasn't added until 1950, thanks to land purchases by John D. Rockefeller Jr. and a long political fight. Today, more than 300,000 acres of wilderness form a protection zone. Moose are one of the most recognisable residents. They're the largest members of the deer family, often standing over 6 feet tall at the shoulder, with massive antlers on the bulls. Black bears and grizzly bears also roam the park. Grizzlies are larger and have a distinct shoulder hump. While black bears are more common and vary in colour. They feed on everything from berries and roots to fish and carrion. In spring and fall, bears particularly active, foraging to build up fat reserves for winter hibernation. At the foot of the range, Jenny Lake lies pressed right against the base of the Tetons. cliffs rise straight from the shoreline and the water drops off fast, more than 250 feet deep. Like the mountains, the lake was carved by glaciers. The ice ground its way down the canyon, scooping a basin that filled with meltwater. It was named after Jenny Lee, a Shoshone woman who lived here in the 1800s with her husband. The couple assisted early expeditions in the area, and the lake's name honours Jenny's contribution to the park's history. Today, Jenny Lake serves as a central hub for visitors. A ferry shuttles hikers across the water to the trailhead at Cascade Canyon. From there, paths lead to hidden waterfalls and viewpoints, climbing beyond into the high country. Beyond the lakeshore stretches Jackson Hole, a name that sounds like a frontier town, but it's something bigger. A valley, long, wide, and enclosed by mountains. Early trappers called it a hole because dropping into it from the mountains felt like entering a massive bowl. Through its heart winds the Snake River, a ribbon of water that has shaped the land for millennia. Originating in Yellowstone, it twists southward through the valley before cutting its way across the American West. The iconic viewpoint at the Snake River Overlook was made famous by Ansel Adams' 1942 photograph. The shimmering ribbon of water sweeps across the valley with the snow-capped Tetons rising in the distance. In winter, the river continues to flow even as snow blankets the surrounding valley. It becomes quieter, but no less important, providing open water for animals and sustaining life year-round. At the edge of Jackson Hole, among open sagebrush fields, stand a few weathered barns known as Mormon Row. In the late 19th century, Mormon families from Idaho trekked over Teton Pass in search of new farmland. Drawn by the promise of fertile soil, they built clustered homesteads here in the valley rather than isolated ranches. This pattern reflected their cultural values, shared labour and faith in building a community that could withstand the long Wyoming winters. Life here was never easy. Winters were harsh, isolation was constant, and survival depended on cooperation. Yet Mormon Row flourished for decades, with schools, farms, and families carving a living in the shadow of the Tetons. When Grand Teton National Park expanded in the mid-20th century, many of the homesteads were abandoned. What remains is a ghostly fragment of human history set against one of America's most dramatic landscapes. Southeast of Jackson Hole, the land rises again. The Wind River Range stretches for more than 100 miles. Peaks soar above 13,000 feet. Gannett Peak, the tallest, reaches 13,800 feet, the highest in Wyoming. Granite dominates the high country, dotted with glacial lakes. More than 1,000 of them reflect the sky like scattered mirrors. Few places capture the Wind River's alpine spirit better than Teton Basin. A high elevation valley rimmed with jagged peaks. The basin is remote. Reaching it requires several days of backpacking, but the effort is rewarded with an unparalleled view. Nearby, the cirque of the towers steals every gaze. A cluster of razor-sharp cliffs that seem impossibly steep. Its granite faces glint in sunrise and sunset, shifting colours with each hour. Tucked away in the northern reaches of the Wind River Range, the Green River Lakes are a hidden gem, remote and serene. They mark the source of the Green River, which will eventually merge with the Colorado River and help carve the Grand Canyon far to the south. Set within the Bridger-Teton National Forest, the lakes lie at an elevation of about 8,000 feet and are surrounded by striking wilderness. Towering over the northern lake is Squaretop Mountain, one of the most iconic and recognizable summits in the Wind River Range. Its flat-topped silhouette dominates the skyline and reflects perfectly in the still waters below. The lakes are glacial in origin, formed by ancient ice flows that once carved through the valley. Though not as famous as the Tetons or Yellowstone, they offer a different kind of experience. Quieter and more personal. Everyone who stands at the foot of Devil's Tower asks the same question: what exactly am I looking at? It's not a mountain, not in the usual sense. It's a massive column of volcanic rock, 1,200 feet tall. The sides etched with vertical grooves. The monolith doesn't blend into the landscape. A single, perfect tower, as if planted here by something or someone. Science has its explanation. Devil's Tower is the exposed heart of a volcano. Hardened magma revealed after millions of years of erosion. The columns formed as the lava cooled and cracked, creating those eerie geometric lines. clean, precise, almost too precise. That's the thing. Geology explains the process, but not the feeling. Because standing here, it doesn't feel like erosion. It feels like intention. The native stories vary, but many speak of children chased by a giant bear. They pray to the Great Spirit who raised the ground beneath their feet. The bear clawed at the stone, leaving deep grooves, and the children became the stars of the Pleiades. In the remote southern reaches of Wyoming's Red Desert, a hidden cluster of rock formations rises from the barren landscape, the Honeycomb Buttes. This isolated region, shaped by wind and time, feels like a secret corner of the earth. Its soft, multicolored sandstone cliffs are carved into bizarre shapes, pocketed and pitted like coral, earning the name honeycomb. The Buttes are remnants of ancient riverbeds and floodplains formed over 50 million years ago. Over time, the stone was sculpted into intricate patterns, alcoves, overhangs, and weathered columns. The Honeycomb Buttes are almost entirely undeveloped. There are no paved roads, no visitor centres, only quiet isolation and dramatic scenery. To the southwest, the desert hides another unexpected phenomenon: the Killpecker sand dunes. The largest active dune systems in North America, stretching for more than 55 miles. Golden waves are in constant motion. Some move as much as 30 feet per year. Strong Wyoming winds sweep across the landscape, pushing sand grains into rolling hills and sharp ridges that shift every season. The area is home to a population of wild horses, descendants of animals that once roamed with early explorers and ranchers. On the edge of the dunes stands the Boar's Tusk, a volcanic remnant that rises above the sea of sand. Just like Devil's Tower, it's the hardened core of an ancient volcano. The last remaining piece of a geologic structure that erupted millions of years ago. Made of tough, erosion-resistant lamproite, Boar's Tusk has survived while the surrounding land wore down. Its dark, craggy silhouette contrasts with the pale tones of sand dunes that stretch out around it. In the far southwest corner of Wyoming lies a quiet plateau with an extraordinary secret. Fossil Butte National Monument preserves one of the richest fossil deposits on Earth. A snapshot of life from 50 million years ago. Back then, this high desert was the bottom of a vast freshwater lake, teeming with wildlife and lush vegetation. Over millions of years, layers of fine sediment at the lake's bottom buried and preserved their remains in astonishing detail. Fossils of delicate fish show every fin and scale. Insects are captured with their wings intact. Even the soft outlines of leaves and feathers remain. The monument spans over 8,000 acres, protecting both the fossil beds and the surrounding high desert landscape. Located on the eastern edge of Yellowstone where the plains meet the mountains, the town of Cody was built on the spirit of the American frontier. Founded in 1896 by the legendary showman and scout William Cody, it was intended as a living embodiment of the Wild West. Nicknamed Buffalo Bill, he was an Army scout and world-travelling entertainer, whose Wild West shows brought the romance and drama of the frontier to audiences across America and Europe. His vision for the town was to create a place that combined modern comforts with the adventure of the West. One of Cody's most captivating historic sites is Old Trail Town, a collection of 19th century frontier buildings. Here, visitors can walk boardwalks past original cabins, saloons and general stores from the era of cowboys and outlaws. Among them is the cabin used by the infamous Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and the grave of mountain man Jeremiah Johnston. Far to the south, a few weathered wooden cabins are scattered in the desert. Their roofs sag, windows long gone. It's all that remains of Piedmont. A town built to feed the steam engines that hauled men and freight across the frontier. The 3 stone kilns, still standing today, were built in 1869. Each held around 30 cords of timber, burned for days at a controlled temperature. The result was lightweight, energy-dense charcoal used to power locomotives and smelters across the growing frontier. In the late 1860s, this was the edge of progress. The Union Pacific Railroad was cutting across Wyoming, laying tracks west toward the ocean. For a time, Piedmont thrived. Around 200 people lived here. But progress moved on. In 1901, the railroad rerouted its main line. Almost overnight, the trains disappeared, and so did the reason for the town's existence. By the 1940s, only ruins remained, log walls collapsing under snow. Like Piedmont, Cheyenne's story is also tightly connected to the railroad. The year was 1867. Survey crews for the Union Pacific Railroad were carving a path across the plains toward the Rocky Mountains. They chose a site near Crow Creek as a base camp. Within months, a tent city sprang up. By winter, it had stores, saloons, and a name, Cheyenne, after the indigenous people who once roamed these high plains. When the first train arrived that November, the population had exploded from a few hundred to over 4,000. They called it the Magic City of the Plains. Money, goods, and people flowed in faster than the town could build streets. Over time, it became the capital of Wyoming and the seat of one of America's most enduring Western traditions. The Cheyenne Frontier Days. This event draws visitors from around the globe for its rodeo competitions and parades, preserving the area's cowboy traditions. Stretching along the eastern edge of Yellowstone National Park, the Absaroka Mountains form one of the wildest ranges in the Rockies. These peaks rise in dramatic, jagged ridges, reaching over 12,000 feet high. Unlike the granite cores of many Rocky Mountain ranges, the Absarokas are the remnants of massive eruptions that shook the region in prehistoric times. The result is a landscape of dark cliffs, broken spires, and colourful badlands. For centuries, the mountains have been a place of significance for native peoples, including the Crow Nation, whose name for themselves, Absaroka, or Children of the Large Beaked Bird, gave the range its name. Later, trappers and early explorers passed through these rugged corridors, often finding them as unforgiving as they were beautiful. High on the cliffs and ridges of the Absaroka Mountains, life has adapted to the extremes. Among the most iconic residents are bighorn sheep, masters of balance and agility. With their massive curling horns and sure-footed steps, they navigate steep rocks where few predators can follow. Their survival depends on these heights, where they can spot danger from a distance and escape in seconds. From the peaks of the Absaroka Mountains, the landscape gently descends into one of Wyoming's lesser-known wild places, Sunlight Basin. Nestled in the northwestern corner of the state, this broad valley unfolds beneath steep cliffs, shaped by the winding Clark's Fork. The basin's wide, gentle valleys give a sense of spaciousness, rare in the more rugged terrain nearby. Rivers and streams thread through the landscape, reflecting sunlight off their clear waters. Accessible only by rough, unpaved roads, Sunlight Basin remains remote and largely untouched by modern development. It offers visitors a true sense of solitude and wilderness, where the grandeur of Wyoming's backcountry can be experienced away from the crowds. As you leave the open valleys of Sunlight Basin, the journey takes you over one of the state's most remarkable engineering feats, the Sunlight Creek Bridge. Spanning a deep gorge, it's the highest road bridge in the state, soaring nearly 280 feet above the riverbed below. Completed in the mid-1980s, its sturdy concrete arches blend with the surrounding landscape. Nestled between two mountain ranges, the broad and fertile Star Valley stretches roughly 40 miles long. Its name is said to come from early settlers who were struck by the incredible night skies visible in the area. Star Valley has long been home to farming and ranching communities. And the winding Salt River that runs through it provides a vital water source for agriculture and wildlife. The valley floor itself is a patchwork of green pastures, farmland, and rippling meadows nourished by the river. Clear streams and small wetlands dot the area, supporting diverse plant life. This blend of fertile lowlands and mountain vistas creates a varied landscape unique to western Wyoming. Located near the centre of Star Valley, Afton is the valley's largest town. Founded in the late 19th century by Mormon settlers, Afton retains a strong connection to its pioneer roots. The town is known for its friendly atmosphere and cultural events that bring residents and visitors together. Afton's most famous landmark is the world's largest elk antler arch, a unique structure built entirely from antlers collected from the nearby forests. Wyoming is a reminder of how fragile everything truly is. The mountains, the plains, the forests, they feel ancient, unshakable. But all that stability is an illusion. Everything we know, everything that surrounds us, rests on a thin shell of rock, drifting over oceans of molten fire. It doesn't take much. A shift deep underground, a crack, a whisper of pressure released in the wrong place, and the crust that holds our world together could split open again. Unleashing the same kind of fury that once turned Wyoming into a wasteland.